Hey, both. How's it going?
Hey, good evening, y'all.
Hey there.
Hey. Nathan, do you go by Nathan or Nate?
Nathan, but really either.
Okay, just want to know. I'm going to mostly stay off video for this meeting because my tiny little Chromebook can't handle the video in meetings like this. Yeah.
Should apply for a grant for a real computer. I hear there's money.
Yeah, I like that. Got a couple more coming in. Hey, Cole. Hey, Carrie. And 1, 2, 3. I think we're waiting on 2 more, so we'll just give them a few more minutes.
Carrie, those berries you gave me are still alive.
Oh, that's great. That.
A few of them made it in the ground, and I didn't have room for all of them, but
Yeah.
hopefully fruit next year.
Hope so. Yeah, I'm looking at mine already, and I'm like, some of you are gonna have to go. Like, I'm gonna have to just dig out whole plants because they just spread.
Yeah, I've been like constantly cutting them back.
Yeah, they like to. They just like spin out like arms, like a octopus.
Cole, I think I see you walking your dog regularly.
I was gonna say you look familiar. I think, yeah, I see you pushing maybe a stroller on Trinidad sometimes.
Got some strollers, a lot of front porch time.
Nice. Yeah, I'm just up on Levis, so we end up going down that way a lot. I
Yeah.
had 2 blackberry bushes that are mostly gone now because the dog seems to first enjoy eating the berries and then enjoy eating the actual bush, which is impressive.
Must have a gut of steel.
It's a little frustrating. Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to give you some more berry bushes anytime.
What kind of berries? Sorry, you cut out for a second.
Mostly blackberries, and I think I have some black raspberries, but they're all kind of mixed together.
I might have to try again. Did either of you catch the candidate forum last night, the Ward 5?
I was not able to join.
It's pretty solid. No real surprises.
I've seen some of the commentary.
Yeah.
All right, it's 7:05, so how about we go ahead and start? I'm gonna turn on my video and see if this works. It doesn't always with my computer, but I'm gonna try it. Can everyone hear me? Can everyone see me?
Yep.
Okay, there's no audio lag.
Oh, smidge, but I think it's okay. It's manageable.
If it's an issue, you can also connect with your phone for audio so that you're not using bandwidth. I don't know if you've probably tried that. I'm sure that's not
Yeah.
news to you.
I've done that before and it works, but I think it's just easier to go off video whenever I need to talk for a while. Yeah, but all right. So welcome everyone to ANC 5D's Transportation Committee. I'm very excited to have all of you here, and I'm really excited to see the kind of work that we are going to do. I thought first maybe we could go around and do just some introductions, maybe say your name, what SMD you're in, and why you wanted to join the committee. So I'll start. I'm Stephen Cobb. I'm Commissioner for 5D07, and I wanted to head up this committee because transportation is the issue that really I feel that I know the most and care most about. It was housing for a very long time and was actually my entrance into local policy issues. But then I took a job with the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and now I'm not allowed to talk about housing anymore. Yeah. But transportation has a lot of overlap there. And I ride my bike for probably 90 to 95% of my trips around the city. So you get that firsthand look. Andrew, you want to go next?
Sure. Hey, folks. My name's Andrew Gruenberg. I live on Trinidad Ave and between Neal and Oates. So I'm in 5D06. I am a bike rider, a pedestrian. I've got two small children, age 1 and 3. So I, feel the safety issues viscerally and personally as I move through life every day and trying to keep these kids alive. I'm also finishing up a master's program in urban planning where I'm focusing on transportation planning issues. And so I've, and I actually also am going to be going into a job in the field. So I just was hired to start in January. I'll be working in Council Member Che's office on the Transportation and Environment Committee, staffing the committee transportation portfolio. So I hope to be able to continue to build some expertise that I can bring to this committee and be a resource and try and learn as much as possible about coming at it from the council side as well. So anyway, that's me. And I'm excited to finally be in one of these meetings. I think, when was that resolution passed to form this meeting, Stephen?
Oh, it was passed in probably February, and then it took until about May to get the commissioners to actually nominate people, and even still 3 of them haven't. And then we took the summer off, and now we're here.
Didn't they pass a resolution to form this 2 years ago, though, in the previous ANC?
They might have. I think I remember because Jason was going to set that up and then he left.
Yeah.
So then we had to just get it all running from the ground up. Yeah. But
so thank you. Thanks for making it happen.
Yeah. And yeah, I really wanted to get this done earlier, but being a first-term commissioner and also, that was a lot of work at the beginning, and then also being the treasurer, I did not realize what a mess our books were in because Keisha Shropshire was the treasurer, and then she left for 8 months and just didn't respond to anybody. She just ghosted everyone, and so they transferred that over to Jason, and then he moved. So there was just a lot of work to do. And I mean, we were getting emails from the central office saying, we need this and this and this, and if you don't, we're gonna remove your allocation, you're going to lose all this money. And so that's what we had to put first. Yeah. But we're all good now. Yeah. So yeah, and congrats, Andrew, on the new job. That sounds really exciting. Yeah. How about, I'm just going to go as it appears in my gallery view. How about Carrie next?
Hi everyone, I'm Carrie Dalewski. I think I'm in ANC 5D05. It's like the north end of Sedell's area. But yeah, I live in Carver Langston at the corner of 17th and L. So I see all the 17th Street traffic, which is a hot topic on my mind. and all the accidents that happen there too. But my background, I work at an environmental nonprofit called World Resources Institute. And for a couple of years, I was on a team that focused on sustainable urban mobility. We've worked on projects internationally in like big cities around the world. And I just kind of absorbed a lot of that from the projects we worked on, how to do traffic calming and whatnot. I'm a cyclist. I haven't owned a car in like 8 years. So I'm always on a bike. Love that car to goes when they're around. But yeah, I just live in a high traffic area for the neighborhood and just generally want to see improved, mobility and accessibility for people of, whether it's pedestrians, cyclists, people of different abilities, people that can't afford cars. So just making this area that's very, very geared towards cars, just more navigable. Right now I'm more of a communications and engagement professional, so love to make connections with folks in the neighborhood. And I saw there was mentioned in the agenda about liaising with neighbors and making sure people are up to date, like with information on the website. So happy to contribute and making sure our neighbors are well informed.
All right. Yeah, we'll get to that after the introductions, but thanks for bringing that up. Next, how about Nathan?
Hey, good evening, y'all. Nathan Jaffe. I live in Carver Langston on 19th Street, close to the intersection with M. I forget which S&D that is, but just the northern side of Carver Langston. I am also a cyclist, bike commute to work as well as most trips around the city. And for work, I work for the DC Department of General Services. So I interact a lot with my counterparts at Ddot for how the right-of-way interacts with our properties and buildings. And I guess more specifically, we have a sustainability and energy office at DGS. So that's where my role is.
All right, very cool. Thanks for that. And I guess Cole, you're up.
My name is Cole. I live in 5D07. I'm in Stevens SMD. I have been in DC for about 15 years and biking for all of them. I just got a car in the pandemic, but I love the bus and biking, kind of all modes of transportation, and am excited just to support all of it. We know the benefits of kind of the cross-pollination. For work, I do operations for National Geographic Media, so not as connected as some of you all are, but still believe in the mission and do like contributing and giving back to the community in a couple different ways. So.
All right, very cool. Well, welcome everyone. I guess we'll move on to the next item. As Carrie mentioned, the resident co-chair. So this is something that we first had when I was on the zoning and development committee, and really it exists because sometimes commissioners just they're not always going to be at every meeting necessarily, or maybe they might not be able to participate because they may be conflicted out for whatever reason. But basically the resident co-chair is the one who does a lot of the admin, runs the meetings along with the ANC commissioner. And so like on the agenda, it says, basically help create a shared vision for the committee, just right at the beginning. Manage administrative aspects, like actually running the meetings, not like technical, because that's it, but running the meetings, putting together an agenda, things like that. And just in general, acting as a liaison between the public and the committee. Say if, like for example, last night or Tuesday night, we had someone present about the Langston Terrace Dwellings Master Plan. And part of that was changing the streets to be more multimodal. Well, what they would do first with this committee is come to us and ask if they could present before us so that we could provide feedback to the ANC so that they could ask more meaningful questions and have a better sense of what is going on before they even hear the presentation. So they would kind of coordinate with people who do want to present before the ANC so that they can get a chance to come before us first. If you know Kevin Horgan, he is the resident co-chair for the Zoning and Development Committee, and that's a lot of what he does. And it just seems like having a person in that position has made the committee just run a lot more smoothly. If anyone is really excited by this opportunity, then they can let me know. Otherwise, I'll just give you all until the next meeting to think about it, and then we can pick someone then. So how's that sound? Yeah, all right, that's good. Now, this is going to be more of a freewheeling sort of discussion, just about projects that we could do, things you would like to see. Basically, how can we, do best in the community? I put up some potential projects like for a TSI database. I know that on the 311 site and in various spreadsheets that some commissioners have put together on their own, and in our inboxes, there are just so many lists of requests for traffic safety investigations, and yet we don't know where they are, what their status is. So I think putting together something like this would be very helpful so that we know where everything is at all times, and we can bug Ddot constantly about it until they get things done. Another potential project is a systemic approach to Ddot requests. It's not really a project, but I did want to talk about this. The impression that I have gotten, both just as a private citizen and as a commissioner, is that Ddot is less likely to do things when you ask for them piecemeal. Say in Carver Langston, I know that there were a bunch of requests for speed humps, one request for speed humps here, another for speed bumps there. And it didn't necessarily work as well as when we passed a resolution requesting speed humps at multiple locations all at once. That seemed to really get Ddot going. And we have heard from Ddot that they prefer those systemic kinds of things. I know the other Trinidad commissioners and I have been trying to work on a similar approach to Montello and Trinidad Avenues, but it's just been difficult to really find the time to coordinate with the other two commissioners. So that could be something that we do. Again, just spitballing here. Anybody else have any thoughts?
So just a couple of quick questions or comments. So for the database, is that something essentially that we would almost populate a shared Google Doc that we then track and follow up on, or is there access to an actual like Ddot TSI database that we can just say filter out for Ward 5 SMD, whatever?
Yeah, I think maybe I was speaking a little too fancy. I'm picturing this just being like a shared spreadsheet on Google.
Totally fine. I just wanted to clarify where we're at. And then I think a systemic approach for the request sounds strong. I don't know what other people think, but maybe tackle like one SMD or one area at a time and kind of rotate around. Otherwise, just start with there, maybe with like the higher traffic areas. And I mean, obviously I'm concerned about Trinidad and what is it, Neal, where there's also there's a stop sign at Trinidad and Neal, but like you go further east and there's just like no stop signs. But 17th and L and M are higher traffic type of things. Yeah, that's kind of my two reactions to those things.
I can jump in with a thought. Both those ideas are great. I think there's a potential, like in thinking about how to do the systemic approach project, to do some really good community engagement and crowdsource ideas. I've seen some other ANC transportation committees do like a really simple survey and just like getting feedback from other residents about like danger areas and what they observe and what they want. And so that could be, you'd probably want to do like I've seen it done with like a Google Doc or a Google Forms survey, and then you also want like a paper version as well for people who aren't online. So anyway, just that's a more involved, takes more planning, but like you could potentially get a lot of really good, get organized really well, and get a lot of buy-in from neighbors and make it feel like something real that everyone's pushing on together. It's just an idea. I also agree, just like other kinds of like systemic things, like, I don't know, like how can we be proactive on like, there's kind of a whole bucket, it's several buckets of like topics, like just thinking specifically like issues with alleys, right? And like how to improve safety in alleys and reduce speeding. And so like, there's not like necessarily a lot of like readily available known solutions. And so like, it'll probably take some like working with, some traffic engineer kind of people at Ddot, but like saying, hey, we've got this issue. We'd love to come up with like a strategy for X issue in the ANC, whether it's alleys or, around schools or whatever it is. And so just kind of thinking in those bigger buckets might be a helpful way to like organize priorities. Just some ideas.
Yeah, that's a really great point. Yeah, and I like this. It's a systemic approach can sometimes be top down, but I think that community engagement, like you said, is critical. And I like the idea of having different buckets of systemic approaches. What are we going to do around this school? What are we going to do for these alleys, et cetera, et cetera? I like that. That's a really good point.
Kaylee just said, I think her name is Kaylee, just emailed saying she's trying to log in but didn't get accepted or something, just FYI. Is there, along those lines, maybe is there somebody at Ddot that we can, like a community liaison? I assume there's a community relations rep or something at Ddot that could advise on some of these things.
There is a Ward 5 liaison. Stephen, are you trying to talk? Because we can't hear
you. Yeah, they're mostly.
I can't hear you at all.
How about Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, I tried to open up my Outlook for the email, and it uses up so much CPU. I'm just messaging Kaylee back.
One question I had is, like, would other folks find it helpful to have kind of a knowledge repository of kind of what previous work has been done or what data sets are out there to help us kind of better understand current modes of transit that people in the neighborhood use, or just kind of like what the world is for the ANC? Because I mean, I've had like my limited experience, but I don't have much formal understanding or know what data is out there for us to inform our decisions.
I wrote a paper for grad school about a year ago that about our ANC and pulled numbers on like commute mode share and demographics and stuff. And so I will share that around. It's now a year out of date. It's 2018 American Community Survey data. So it's like, changing, but still relevant snapshot and trends over time. So I will share that with the list. That I wrote it actually, like at the time I thought the committee was about to be like going then. and was like, I'm going to write a paper for that specific purpose. So it's finally, I can finally share with other people on the committee. I'll send it to the list.
Awesome. Well, thank you for doing the hard work for us.
I got course credit, so I don't need too much credit or other credit.
I wonder if there's also some like traffic safety data out there, you know, just like black spots or other just speed areas that they're keeping an eye on.
Yeah, knowledge bank would be a really great idea. I know that there's a lot of information that's just really scattered out there, and it would be nice to have it all in one spot. And yeah, Andrew, I remember when you wrote that paper, and it was really interesting. I think it would be very helpful if everyone got a copy of that.
I'll send it out now. There's a lot of data available, like on crashes. DC Open Data has a pretty up-to-date crash database that can be viewed in map form. It's got some limitations. It's MPD's data set, and so it's missing. There's been actually some research recently about how that may be skewed and biased in certain ways, but it's a good starting place. The other thing, obviously, like crash data doesn't capture is like all the close calls and like places where people don't walk because it feels unsafe. And then they don't, obviously they're not getting hit by a car there, but it's an unsafe place.
Yeah, that it does have some limitations, like you mentioned, but that is a really helpful data set. Also, we have Kaylee has now joined us. Kaylee, if you would like to take a moment to just introduce yourself, your name, your SMD, and why you wanted to join the committee.
Sorry, guys, I'm late. It's a good first impression, I'm sure. So I live on the intersection of Queen and Trinidad, and we've been here since 2013, and been through different iterations of the neighborhood, even before some of the four-way stops were on Trinidad. Although I'm explicitly here to get as many four-way stops as possible on Trinidad. I just say that I am also a biker, so very much supportive of bike lanes and figuring out bike infrastructure. But in general, I think transportation in DC or transportation infrastructure in DC can be a hot mess. And I think for kind of our neighborhood, it's somehow worse than others, or it is historically been worse than others. So I'm happy to be on the committee. Thank you so much for letting me join late. I don't know if I checked off all of the tick boxes, Stephen. What am I missing?
All right. Well, yeah, no worries, Kaylee. We're glad you were able to join us. But we're just kind of having a discussion of, what kind of things we think that the committee is well placed to do and what sort of things we'd like to achieve in the future. Some ideas are a TSI database, like I put on the agenda. Another, we have other ideas like a knowledge bank is a good one, and just overall taking a sort of a systemic approach to traffic safety requests instead of block by block, but rather, just more systemic. Yeah, so that's where we are now. And we're talking about what sort of different resources are out there as we try to gather data and determine what we can do and where.
Quick sidebar, we're all cyclists, and I love that. That's so great. Good foundation.
I assume that's why I was recruited to this committee.
I wanted to offer Andrew, I think it was Andrew, you said you were going to share the paper. I wonder, as we're like gathering information, if we should just start with like a Google Drive, Google folder structure, just so we can like put together, the knowledge repository, maybe for the database, maybe we'll have different, files that go into that database. I'm not sure, but just like a one-stop shop.
Yeah, I can definitely set up a Google folder on the larger ANC drive and give you all permissions to edit.
I will not email anything, and will place what I was going to send in that once it's ready.
When we're done here, I'll set up the folder and send out the link. And that way the other commissioners have access to the information too, if they feel so inclined.
We could have a shared doc where people also could put questions and then crowdsource answers and, you know, populate based on that if folks have access to things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I always take notes. So if we end up having like a shared notes doc, pop that in there.
perfect. And I also already put in there, or I already made, but I can move a Google Doc just talking about just ideas. It's just ideas of things we can do. Okay, so I know I blocked off the whole hour. We can keep talking about things. If not, it sounds like we have some good ideas about what to do moving forward. Oh, one more thing. The DC Register comes out every Friday. It is the DC government's notice of regulations that they are proposing to publish. And every now and then something transportation related will be in there. I check it every Friday because apparently I have nothing better to do. And so if there is something transport related, I'll let you all know and I'll put it on the agenda for the next meeting. Yeah. Otherwise, did anyone else have anything?
I have a specific question. Stephen, do you know, or anyone, do you know the status? So Ddot got some funding to do a Bladensburg road corridor study in the last fiscal year. Do you or anyone know the status of that, or if not, a place to go to figure that out?
I don't have any more information on it. I know that it was something that they were planning. I can reach out to our Ddot coordinator to see if she says anything. Yeah, because yeah, you're right. I remember they sort of made a big thing out of that, and then it just kind of went away.
And my guess is we're just at early stages of it, and there wouldn't be anything public to share. Like they're probably design, you know, takes months to design something like that and start doing it. But you know, as far as like we know Florida is getting a major treatment done. I think Bladensburg probably will be like the big lift and big project for this group to focus on beyond the like neighborhood level stuff. Like what's the big infrastructure we're going to need to really be engaged on. And so, you know, I just like got an email from another neighbor today who's like, hey, like what's going on with Bladensburg? We got to like do all this stuff. And, you know, so anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Bladensburg is crazy because one, it's such a big, busy road that is pretty much the major divide within our ANC. And also it's all like so many apartments going up right now on both sides of Bladensburg. It's nuts, it's so fast. And then also the Heckinger Mall is getting bought out. So who knows what that's going to look like in a few years. So, I mean, it would be great if we can have a plan in place for Bladensburg to actually change in a way that will best align with how it's growing. Yeah, I agree. And I'll email our Ddot liaison about that.
Stephen, I know we're also missing a couple representatives from different neighborhoods. Is that something we could help with? You know, I don't know, sending out some next door messages or just talking to our neighbors, somehow reaching out to recruit more people?
Yeah, we didn't have anyone nominated for Commissioner Salcedo Guzman's SMD in Northern Trinidad or in Bernice Blackwell's SMD, which I think is Langston. And then for 5D01, for Ivy City Gallaudet, we only had 1%. Apparently she can't do the second Thursdays, which is a little frustrating, which is a little, disappointing. And then for 5D05, which is Seidel's, we only have one here tonight. I haven't heard from him, but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, especially some Commissioner Salcedo Guzman's district in the northern third of Trinidad, and then Bernice Blacknell's, Commissioner Blacknell's jurisdiction over in Langston. They have nobody. So, I mean, it would be great to be able to get people because, yeah, just to get their shared perspective and also their just knowledge of the roads around them.
I'm in more cyclists, the merrier. I'm in the ANC 5D WABA group. So I can reach out to them and just kind of highlight the areas that we're looking for folks from, just in case somebody's on the list or figure that out.
For reference, I sent out the agenda, right? Or a link to the agenda for tonight's meeting.
Yes.
In the bottom there, you'll see the representatives for each SMD. If you reference.
Got it. I did not scroll down.
Yeah, it's usually that's where the commissioners go, but I've just changed it up for us. Okay. All right. Anybody have anything else?
I have a couple questions, and I realize I might be repetitive because I wasn't here the first 20 minutes of the meeting, so I apologize in advance if it's repetitive. So are there other transportation committees and other ENCs that have been established longer than ours that might have sort of like lessons learned or input for us to kind of replicate? One. And then two, not to say that this group isn't great, but I feel that there's a diversity problem that may be a problem in our specific ANC. And so it would be really good if we could figure that out. I just feel like that would be a point of tension if we don't. So just are the two things.
Yeah, both good points and both points that we have not touched on yet. So thanks for that. Sorry, what was your first question again?
Other transportation committees and other
yes.
that we might learn from. Yeah.
I know that there are at least two in Capitol Hill, and we can certainly speak with them to figure out what works and what doesn't. Theirs are a lot more established, and I've looked at their past agendas. I've loosely attended some of their meetings just to see what it's like, what they do. And it's kind of one of those things where it's slow at first, but once you set up long-term projects, once people know about your committee, it really gets the ball rolling in. You have a lot more community engagement. And as far as the second part, I know when we were trying to figure out who would join this, when the ANC, all the commissioners and us were trying to figure out who would join the committee, we did aim for diversity. But there's still a lot of openings, still a lot of opportunity. Yeah. And we're hoping for even more diversity of all sorts.
So like the SMDs that haven't nominated anyone, like there's clearly very passionate people about transportation in the northern Trinidad section, since they're very vocal about some specific projects. I mean, I think, I don't know if any of those people would want to spend their time in this group or doing this, but it'd be, we're all people who ride bikes. We have a pretty specific viewpoint. I think we're gonna beyond the obvious racial problem of this group, not problem, just who we are as with zero appearing black people. Some credibility issues for sure, and so, as all bike people. And so we're gonna come with some very specific kinds of recommendations, and then there's gonna be a whole bunch of people who are well, that's not us. So just another way to think about the issue of populating this committee.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And I can prod the commissioners again to see if there's people who might want to join, because it's possible that, you know, the commissioners around there have gotten emails about, you know, very passionate emails about different projects, and they may be interested in joining now. So I'll ask them. I'll make them aware that we still need people, and, you know, that we welcome all people, and we, you know, are emphasizing diversity. Okay, Kayla, yeah, I see that. Yeah, I mean, look, I think worse than a lack of diversity is just having empty spots. If it really means that, you know, we're going to be less diverse, but we're going to have more people and more viewpoints and more strengths and weaknesses brought to the table, you know, more strengths, then I think that's better than just having no one.
Yeah, I mean, if you want me to ask him if he would be interested, or at least know a little bit more about the transportation committee, I'd be happy to do that. And he's, you know, he lives on Montello. He has a young daughter. I mean, the viewpoint obviously is a little different, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, absolutely, yeah. It'd be great if you could connect him.
I have a boring question, logistical one. Is there any flexibility on the start time of this meeting? Later would be better for me. 7 p.m. Like, I literally have never made the beginning of a full ANC meeting, and usually not really available till 8, with 2 kids age 3 and 1, bedtime stuff. So, like, putting that out there, if like obvious, if it's like the majority of people can't do it later, I can work with it. It is tough though. We don't have to decide right now, just throwing it out there. Maybe, like, I appreciated the poll on the dates, but I was like, oh wait, can we give feedback on what time this meeting is? Maybe a poll on start time would be good.
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I mean, I'm open to moving the start time around. I just pick 7 more than anything because that's when our ANC usually meets and the other committees meet. And really, I think with the ANC, you know, we only start at 7 because we're worried about those 3 and 4 hour meetings. But I don't think that's going to be an issue with us. I hope not. Yeah. Cool. Kaylee, is that a cat?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a Zoom meeting without one cat appearance in my house.
One question I had, and this might be out of scope for us, it might be a quick answer, but given that a lot of this is going to focus around us working and talking with Ddot or about Ddot's work, a lot of stuff happens in the right of way, which is Ddot's purview. And, like, specifically, I'm always looking at the street lights and kind of the accessory equipment, kind of like shot spotter type equipment that's on street lights. And, you know, this fits into a broader kind of smart city conversation that's very buzzwordy, but also can kind of turn into surveillance type activities. So just curious to get people's thoughts on that, whether that's potentially in the scope of what we're doing, or we're really focusing on the transportation side of Ddot and not some of those other things happening in the right of way.
I think as far as talking about infrastructure in the right of way, I think that's certainly within our purview, you know, street lights and other things. I mean, those are in the right of way. They're part of the transportation landscape. I think that's within our right of way. As far as things like shot spotter, we could get into like a discussion of its implications and its pros and its cons, but I think that's probably a little outside of our scope. And yeah, but as far as the actual infrastructure and right of ways, yeah, I think that's right up our alley. You know, we're everything from one property line to the other property line and everything in between.
On the infrastructure topic, I think it was I'm like, oh God, was it this summer or last summer? I don't know. It all blends together. But I think it was the council members said that they were going to try and address all like free or incredibly low cost, like transit traffic issues as quickly as they could. And I'm like, great. Can you please get rid of the beg buttons at all intersections? It's a crazy inequity issue and it's completely free. Couple engineers reprogram a couple lights. You don't even have to physically take the buttons off, just change the light patterns. And I wrote to Charles Allen. He's like, I would love that, Carrie. And I think I, added a Ddot person and the community liaison. And of course they're all there, but like, that's like a simple free, it's not a major improvement for say like traffic or speed or safety issues. But I'm just like, man, can we just tick off some of these like easy ones? Let's get some low hanging fruit. That'd be nice.
Yeah. The weird thing is I heard something like 80% of those beg buttons don't even do anything anymore. They're just like ornamental. Yeah, it's ridiculous. I have half a mind to just.
Oh, go ahead, please.
I have half a mind to just grab a bunch of rocks and a roll of duct tape and just tape rocks so that the beg buttons are permanently like depressed.
Permanently pressed sounds good to me. I'm all about some like guerrilla artwork too. I'm a bit of a crafter, so yeah, just bringing attention to good things, bad things, things that need fixed. Yeah.
I like that.
I had another kind of like purview question. So I've sat in on some of the zoning and development meetings, and like obviously so much of what comes before the ANC is around zoning and development issues, and like a lot of it is actually the discussion is around transportation side of it and like impacts on parking and transportation. And so I've been struck kind of like how the discussion in those zoning meetings is like not at all through the lens of like how this group would probably think about some of those questions. And like, especially, if a developer's trying to get a variance to, waive their parking minimums or something like that, like our group should be well qualified. And like, we should have, I felt like we should have some mechanism to weigh in on that, even if it's just like, you could have a pretty simple workflow where like that committee looks at something and then they send it over to us, flag the transportation question and say like, do you guys want to weigh in on it? And like, we could take it or leave it. But like so much of the conversation around like the projects that have a parking angle is like missing like some really key parts of the issue, and like it'd be good to have some folks who want to think about the transportation side of development projects. So just an idea for something we could do. I think a committee like ours should do that if we have the capacity.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. And I told about those zoning committee meetings where a developer presents their project and nobody even talks about the building that's going to be there. It just all becomes about parking. And I think that's a really good point. Because we probably don't, they definitely have expertise to comment and weigh in. We also have our own different expertise. And I think Kevin would very much be up for that, and I can talk with him about it. Because like you said, we can just make it very simple. It doesn't have to be anything fancy or formal. So yeah, I'll talk to Kevin about that. If that's all, we can probably get out of here a few minutes early. But I appreciate everyone for showing up, and I'm really excited to get going with this. I will set up tonight. I will set up the Google Drive, the folder with the docs and everything in it, and I will send everyone a link. So just keep an eye out for that. Yeah. All right. Anyone have anything else? Okay.
Thanks for organizing, Stephen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to do it. And again, our next meeting will be December 9th, the second Thursday in September. That ain't to be determined. I'll send out an email about that too. And with that, thanks everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
See ya.
you.
Fair night.